Hi, this is Shana Meyerson with YOGAthletica in Los Angeles, California. So I've gotten some requests for some soft core, not that kind of soft core, but it turns out my hardcore might be a little too hard for some. And so here is some manageable and accessible core work for those of you who are just starting to build your core strength and control. We're going to start with sort of like a baseline movement. All of the movements we do in this video are going to help you not just with understanding how your core works, but also they're going to help you with your entire yoga practice. This first one, you're just going to cross your legs, hug your knees to your chest, roll backwards and roll forwards, okay? So the key when you're doing this one is try to go as slowly as possible. So you don't want to be like, oh yeah, right? So see if you can nice and slowly go backwards, and as you pull your knees in and your legs towards your chest, just roll forwards, okay? I know this might seem pretty basic, but this is a really good beginning core exercise. If you want to make it a little bit more challenging, when you roll backwards and roll forwards, don't touch your feet to the floor. So see if you can do the same, balancing. And if you want to take it one step further, you can do the same thing with an 8-point turn. So imagine the points of a compass. So we've got like north, west, south, east, but this will also work with the northwest, southwest, southeast, northeast. See, you'd think I was a Girl Scout. I never was. So roll backwards and go to your northwest and balance. But again, make sure your feet don't hit the floor. Don't roll back again until you know you've got your balance. So that's 2, and I'm in my western position. I hope I don't run into the wall. Here we go to the southwest. And see if you can do this exactly 8 turns back to the front. So here's my number 5. Here's 6. 7. Now remember, my feet never touch the floor in these transitions. And 8. And of course, you can do it backwards in the other direction. In fact, I encourage it. Again, don't fake this one. Don't roll like this and just keep going. Make sure that each time you come up, you actually balance. Okay. If you want to make that one a little bit harder, by the way, grab your big toes, take your legs up, and do it with straight legs. So you can do it either with straight legs together. Sorry, I gotta always make sure how far I am from the wall, or straight legs apart will be a little bit easier. Okay, that's exercise numero uno. Okay, second one we're gonna do is we're gonna start with a simple plank position. I find that so many people really lose their core engagement in their plank. So when you're in your plank, if you're not sure, take like a photo or a video of yourself. Come on, you know you love the selfies. So go ahead, take one, look at it, admire yourself, but notice what's going on in your core, what's going on in your hips. With a lot of beginners, I see planks that look something like this. And you see how low my hips are. And what that is just a lack of core engagement. Not only is it not helping me in the core world, but it's really forcing me to sort of dip and dump into my low back, which is very unhealthy for my low back. So remember that, have you seen my secret to all of yoga video? If you haven't, check it out, because it's the secret to all of yoga. Click here, you can watch it, and you can become a master. In the meantime, remember to keep your ribs and pelvis engaged and your tailbone long so that when you come to your plank position, instead of being down here, we want to be up here so that you're being supported by below, and you should feel a light engagement in your core. Hold this pose. Now it's boring for you to just watch me hold this pose, so go ahead and hold it on your own. Hold it for a while, hold it for a minute, hold it for 2 minutes, hold it for 3, 5. Just make sure that you never dip your hips. Plank position in and of itself is a great strengthener, obviously for your arms, shoulders, and upper back, but it really teaches you to maintain the core as well. Now, because we're working on core as it is relevant to our practice, the next move we're going to do is moving from our plank position to down dog. However, I don't want you to push yourself back. Instead, from your plank, think as if somebody had a string in your butt. Okay, that's a bad analogy, because that sounds sort of gross, but some sort of string in this vicinity, and they're lifting your hips up into the air, so that instead of pushing with my arms, I'm gonna lift from my hips to take me back. Okay, so I roll forward into my plank, and as if I could just bring my chest to my thighs, lift my tush to pull me back. So instead of pushing back, I'm pulling back. On the way forward, if you want to, you can round your spine like a wave through to your upper back to lengthen, and then pull back again from your core to take you back. If you find that you're moving very quickly from front to back, I can almost guarantee you're relying too much on your arms. So make sure that the movement actually comes from folding at the waist rather than pushing with the arms. So even though the movement will look the same, whether you're pushing or pulling, it will feel completely different. With my whole practice, the more that I can move from my core instead of from my limbs, the more stable my practice becomes. Okay, so you got your plank. If that's easy for you, let's make this a little more intense. And by the way, if something I do is not easy for you, just work on that. You actually don't have to do this whole video at once. The Yoga Gestapo is not going to come and get you if you stop halfway through. But do this stuff as often as you need to, as much as you need to make it comfortable, and then you can try my hardcore stuff. Okay. So you got your plank, you know it's stable, you're not dipping through your hips, your core is engaged. Let's put this time your forearms down on the floor, and if you want to, you could enter just from your knees. Arms are going to be parallel to each other. Notice how the hands are going to want to collapse in. So in order to get parallel arms, imagine a straight line from the middle of your elbow to your middle fingers. Stepping into your low plank position. Make sure your hips aren't high, selfie time, and aren't dipping low, but instead maintain about shoulders height with your hips. Neck stays long, and again, hold. The thighs are strong, the heels pressing backwards, and I know this is super boring to watch. If you want to make it a little more intense, you can lift one foot off the floor, and put it back down, and lift your other foot off the floor, and put it back down. But just hang out here, again, for as long as feels appropriate for you. Maybe it's a minute, maybe it's 2 minutes, maybe it's 5 or 10, maybe it's a million minutes, but I mean, if it's a million minutes, you're probably watching some of my harder videos. Okay, so you got your low plank, you got your high plank. Now, this one is a little bit intense, so take it at your own risk and do it as many times again as feels appropriate. But this is transitioning from plank to low plank and back. This is arm intensive and core intensive at the same time. So we start in a plank position. Take one elbow, I'll take my left elbow, put it where your hand is, forearm down, and then your other forearm down. Now your tush is going to wind up high in this one, so make sure it stays low. Do not let it lift. Then, left hand comes where your left elbow is, right hand comes where your right elbow is. Try to keep your hips as stable as possible. Right elbow comes down, hips low, left elbow comes down. Right hand, left hand. Left elbow, right elbow. Right hand, left hand. It doesn't really matter the order that you do it in, what hand, what elbow. But do as many of those as feels appropriate. That is an awesome core exercise that I think everyone could do, even if you just do it once down and once up, and build up to multiple reps. Okay, last one we're gonna do today, and then maybe I'll have to make you another video, is boat, Navasana. So we're gonna work from how to modify your boat position without holding onto your legs, and how to do like little boat sit-ups to, again, just build that core intensity. So boat position. It looks like this in real life, but you might not be living that life. And so, a few things might be holding you back. One might be core. Okay, if you're watching this video, I'm going to say maybe it's core. Another might be hamstrings, like you might have some tight hamstrings, or even tight hips will make it hard to bring it up. So if you cannot do your Navasana, now Navasana, if you feel like you're sort of rounding in and collapsing in, you're probably not ready for the pose. You want to feel as if your chest is being pushed forth, shoulders rolling back and down on this one, and the legs are up. Now there's different variations. There's like lower variations, higher variations. I just did that backwards. I said high and I went low, I went low, and went high. But you, my discerning audience, can figure out what I mean, even if I don't know what I mean. Okay, but if Navasana is too intense, do you know how to adjust it? Bend your knees. Ta-da! So when you bend your knees, if you can, keep your ankles in alignment with your knees more or less touching, and your shins will be approximately parallel to the floor. Again, roll the shoulders back and down. This is going to take the hamstring work out of the pose. You want to be able to hold this one. Now, Navasana is my boat. Ardha Navasana means half boat. I'm going to show you how to go from half boat to boat in sort of, well, I'll give you the challenging way, then I'll give you the easy way, okay? Challenging really isn't super challenging, it's just sort of the classic way, and then I'll show you how to modify. So if you can, you go from boat, lower down halfway so your feet are hovering and your shoulders and upper back are hovering, and then you lift up, like so. However, if that doesn't work for you for any multitude of reasons, start with your knees bent, lower halfway down. Now my legs are straight. This is important. When I come back up, bend my knees and lift my chest at the same time. So lower, legs out, don't touch your shoulders to the floor, lift, knees bend as your chest lifts. Make sure that when you do these, that your legs and your chest or your back or whatever you want to call it, your torso, move in conjunction. They have to move at the same time. A lot of people I see, they come down and then they want to lift their knees up and then sit up. Well, that's not going to work because when you come up, it's actually pushing you backwards. So it's actually going to impede your ability to lift up, even though you might think it's going to make it easier. So make sure that legs and chest are moving together. Out and in, out and in, as many times as you see fit. Sooner or later, you won't be all apple and no core anymore. You'll actually have a nice strong core. This is Shana Meyerson with YOGAthletica in Los Angeles, California, wishing you a nice, hard core.